that was where I was applying for foreign companies, and I got a couple of interviews from Talent in UK, Bloomberg, UK, Amazon, Luxembourg. There are 2-3 different things that I've seen in international MNCs. So one, the recruitment process for different companies are very different. So for something like Amazon, I think it's across the world. So they have a huge focus on leadership principles.
Like I have given interviews for company like MNCs, but they were recruiting for India, right? So you said you gave it to different like locations which are outside India. So is there any difference in the interview process or the kind of questions they ask you, or is it the same?
So I've personally felt that people who are from outside are a bit kinder. So I've
Okay.
also like have interviews in India जो एकदम से ऐसे आए, no introduction, nothing, gave the question and they are like, okay, go. So I
Been there.
also done this in India. Yeah. But I haven't experienced this in foreign interviews ever. So they're always like, okay, how is it going? How are you? Can you introduce yourself? And I also feel they ask easier questions. And that can just be me. I've always felt that the interviews and the questions they ask in India, they're a bit on the more challenging side than the questions they ask outside.
Absolutely.
So I'm like curious about a question that like when you apply like outside India to companies, the same MNCs for which you can apply in Indian branches. So is there any difference in the recruiting process or the questions which they ask you?
So there are 2-3 different things that I've seen in international MNCs. So one, the recruitment process for different companies are very different. So for something like Amazon, I think it's across the world. So they have a huge focus on leadership principles. So they ask a lot of questions. Like 50% of interviews, they'll be asking like, what is one project that you remember where you took the initiative or something. And then half the time they'll ask you a question which is mostly from lead code, because that lead code has almost all the things. So if you're preparing for interviews outside, lead code is your best buddy. If you're preparing for interviews in India, I think interview bit has done a pretty good job. And Geek for Geeks is always good. Like Geek for Geeks will get you good blogs, good ideas to practice for company specific things. But essay, if you want to do some practice, it's interview bit for Indian companies. उसके अलावा आई फील कि बाहर के लोग फोकस मोर ऑन द बिहेवियरल एस्पेक्ट एज वेल. So it's not okay, let's go into the coding part or let's just go into the technicalities of it all. They're also like, okay, what did you do here, what did you do there, and they kind of focus a little bit more on getting to know you better to start with, and then moving on to the technical aspects of it. And they also spend a certain amount of time on introducing themselves or the kind of work they do. And in India also I've seen this for a lot of companies that people are actually very involved. They like want to tell you what is the kind of work they do, especially in startups and so. But there are also cases where you just don't get it. Like you just can't seem to find that vibe with the person that you're interviewing with. Although vibe is a very Gen Z term. But तो वो देखा है मैंने. और बाकी आई हैव सीन कि जैसे कंपनीज लाइक टैलेंटेड वगैरह, इवन इफ यू आर फ्रेशर, दे गिव सम फोकस टू द सिस्टम डिजाइन इंटरव्यूज. ब्लूमबर्ग में ऐसा था कि दे हैड अ फोन इंटरव्यू बिफोर दे स्टार्टेड द इंटरव्यू प्रोसेस. So there are different interviews. So I think for Palantir I gave like 5-6 interviews and then got rejected. But they gave me this feedback कि you had this strong technical points, but where you lagged was the system design one. So I really liked that कि उनका recruiter is reaching out to me and telling me कि this is what you did well, this is what you didn't do well. So I really like that part about interviewing with them. But that is not always the case. Like there were some people I got to know through this same thing. They are also applying off campus. So one of them got rejected and never got a reply back from recruiter. So that can also happen. And I
Happens a
think
lot.
that's also a bit of, yeah, so that's very, very luck based, and also the kind of person that first reached out to you is also very, they define the kind of experience you have with that company throughout your interviews. So there's that. For Indian companies, I think it's relatively straightforward in the terms that you give a test. If you get in, they'll have your interviews.
Right.
So I felt that the standard procedure of getting an interview was a little bit different for foreign companies, and they focused a bit on behavioral aspects as well. Yeah, but overall, I feel the questions ka challenge level is more in India. Like people ask tougher questions, a little bit tougher.
Competition is also more in
So
India.
like I'll just submit us.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I'll
that's
just
the
submit
reason.
what. Yeah, I'll just
If
submit what you just like. Am I right? I have taken the right points. First is like get in touch with your recruiter to know the kind of questions they might ask
right,
you. Second point is that like focus more on your behavior, like how you're presenting yourself in front of the recruiter. And the third point is like be strong with your DSA and technical skills from lead code. I think lead code is universal, irrespective you apply on in abroad
outside
order.
yeah, lead code is your best buddy when you are preparing for any interview or job shift, especially to the FANG companies.
Right.
Yeah,
I
also
think
one more thing that I have noticed a similarity is just like Google, you mentioned, right? You had to write a code in Google Docs. Even in
yeah,
Amazon, their IDE was so simple. There was no
yeah,
absolutely it's like a plain IDE, and there's like you just have to code it. There's no way to, you can double check, you can run, or there's anything. You can choose a language of your choice and you can just start coding.
yeah,
So these
yeah,
big companies, especially with these FANG, they do this, right? And we are so used to with these lead code and interview bit that, we'll just write a code and we'll see how it runs, and we'll use those feedback to do that. So that feedback is not really present in these interviews.
right. And I think the reason they do this is that they want to see how you think rather than how well you code. I
Exactly.
mean, I've had interviews in Google and Amazon only, where I have been told to design a system. So that's where they see ki how well do I make the classes, or how well do I think ki, where I can use the OOPS principle in whatever I code. But I don't think they particularly केयर कि अच्छा यहाँ तुमने एक लाइन मिस कर दी कुछ,
uh,
जिसका कोई ऐसे सिग्निफिकेंस सेमांटिक लेवल पे नहीं था, syntactic level पे था. So I think
Correct.
they give you that leeway, and that I feel is not possible for startups, क्योंकि they need to know that you're good, and they
Yeah.
also do not have their own setup जहाँ वो करवा सकें.
Right. So moving on, like then where did you finally land up with your off-campus offer?
So then after December, I started applying to Indian companies. So most of the time, I joined a couple of Telegram groups, jahan as Atharv mentioned that he puts out these things like opening ya ye wo. So there were Telegram groups at during my time where they used to see कि अच्छा here there's an opening for fresher. This is a test wala wo going on, and I used to register for that. And then just give the tests and so on and so forth. So I finally, I think, and for for startups, I had another set of names which I had collected after talking to friends, and then there was this angel list.
Angel
So
one.
there are so there are these various sites which give you insights into different companies. So if you want to go to the larger companies, you'll probably get to know it through either LinkedIn or these Telegram groups where people continuously post, or you can ask anyone for referrals. And for referrals, I used to be like, go on LinkedIn, and I didn't even have premium, so I didn't have the money to buy premium or so I just used to you have some leeway in the text box when you send a connection request. I used to write in that. I had a framed work, hi, I am Riya, I'm pursuing CS from IIT Delhi, and can you give me a referral? So this is all. So it used to go within, and some people used to reply, some people didn't, but most of it was around these. And then I finally got an offer from Adobe as a software engineer, and I had like 4 interview rounds, and all of them were on the same day. So it also depends on the company as well. Like I had a interview जो भी मतलब rounds with Microsoft, and they had 8 interviews in like 3 days or something. So these are pretty grilling in their duration, but you get through it. Like little by little, you get the hang of it. Sometimes you just don't care enough. Like it's like, okay, I know this is not gonna go well anymore, but you just have to go and get through. So I thought my interviews didn't go too well with Adobe, like 1 or 2 of them out of the 4. But then I got the offer and I was really happy. Oh, thank God, this 4-5 months of rejections ka ordeal has ended for me now.
Amazing.
So yeah, I've been working at Adobe this past year, and it's a great company. Like it's a company that incentivizes you to study for yourself. So they have like apart from the compensation, which I think for my year there was 13 or 14 lakh ka base. There were bonuses of 5 lakhs and the rest were in the stocks. So those were non-negotiable, and I think as a fresher you don't get a lot of leeway to negotiate.
Yeah.
I think once you move on to your second job, you start getting those opportunity to negotiate your offer or ask for more perks and stuff like that. But nonetheless, I saw that they had these education reimbursements which are up to 7 lakhs. So you can do different courses, you can do different professional development workshops, and I think that's really great. That is a very cool thing I found in the company, which basically incentivizes you to get out of your comfort zone, take more courses, do a bit of Coursera EDX just for fun. So I think that is something I really loved about my time at Adobe. And currently I am planning to move to Amazon UK.
Wow.
So I am moving to Edinburgh next month, and I'll be working with a new manager, a new team. So I'm really excited for that.
And even I am excited about that.
How did you landed up with an offer in Amazon UK?
So I think the recruiter, when the process in Amazon Europe region started, the recruiter reached out to me because I had applied the previous year. So they generally have, even like these big companies, like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, they have this database of people who have applied and who might fit for a role. And I think a lot of big companies have this, like they keep you in their database and they reach out if they ever need you. So this recruiter reached out to me and she was like, if you want to try, there are multiple openings across different teams in Europe, so you can do that. So I applied to that, and this was the first interview of this season and I got it. So I totally credit this to the 5-6 months of rejection last year. Like they were the only reason I was comfortable enough to get the hang of how to put my answers, what to prepare, what not to prepare, and also my friends at Amazon who helped me out with the preparation.
So when you switched to Amazon, I think you had a year of experience in working in Adobe, right?
Yeah.
So when you switched to Amazon, so did they offer you like SD1 or SD2 roles?
So for Adobe, the general timeline for getting your first promotion is around 1.5 years to 2 years. So just they wouldn't offer me a promotion or something, and you already have an appraisal cycle in this, like the month of July, August. So beyond that, I think no. The answer is no. But sometimes some companies or some teams might offer. So it depends on the team, the company, and everything else as well. And
Okay,
also
so
the
like
kind of role that
when
you're
you
doing.
switch to Amazon, then I think Amazon like don't give you SD2 role directly. Is
Right,
it the case?
right. So I'm joining as an SD1, but I got to choose my team. So they gave me like a couple of options where there were openings, and they asked that if you can talk to the managers and you can discuss what you want from the role, you can discuss what kind of role that you want, well, what kind of tech stack do you want to work on, and stuff like that. So the current manager that I talked to, I mentioned that I would prefer if we can have this conversation right off the start, ki I already have 1 year of experience, I'm already a dual degree, so if I can get on a track or be given the projects which will help me get a promotion earlier. So I think
Hmm.
that is something I am mindfully doing in my next job, ki I am trying to ensure ki this conversation never is there from the start itself,
Right.
because I've been offered an SD1 role. So I think let's hope that turns out for well.
So what kind of questions do they yeah, you can tell us bit about your interview experience and what all questions did they ask you?
So there was a phone interview at the very start where a tech recruiter asked me basic data structures ke questions. So it was something like what is hashing, if you want to do this kind of sorting, what sorting algorithm will you use. So it was nothing coding based, so it was nothing hands on. It was just like basic data structure ideas. Do you know about trees? How do you balance a binary tree? Stuff like that, like the basic, the fundamental theory of data structures and algorithms. And then once I got through that, there were 4 interviews scheduled back to back, and they gave me the details of the interviews as well. So I also asked a couple of my friends in Amazon to check up on them and tell me which is the bar raiser round. So Amazon generally has this bar raiser round where if the bar raiser says no, it's a no, and if they say yes, then it's mostly a yes, unless there's a huge negative review from the other interviews. So I just ask you who is the bar raiser, who has the most experience, and stuff like that. And I prepared quite a bit about the leadership principles. So because I knew from my past experience that Amazon gives a gives a huge chunk of its time during the interviews to these LPs, I wanted to ensure that I have at least some examples related to all the LPs. So I think that helped me actually organize my thought and organize my answers according to the approach that they wanted. And I watched a lot of YouTube videos for that. So they have this STAR approach where it's situation, task, action, and result. So I actively tried to make my answers into that format before the interviews. So I gave a quite some time on that. And बाकी DS वगैरह का I think it was mostly कि I had done it last year, so I knew the basics of it, but I took some time to get comfortable with the coding platform again. Because once you get in your job, to get back into a lead code wala phase is a little bit tougher. So, but it's easy to pick up because you've done that before. So, just an advice for people who are like trying to find jobs off campus or even in placement and all, just make sure that you are comfortable with the whole idea ki you are coding, you're thinking on the fly, and things like that. Matlab, don't let it scare you, because I remember I used to be scared a lot. I used to be like, oh, ये तो नहीं होगा. अरे DP के question आ जाएंगे. I will be like, नहीं नहीं. But
Can
नहीं.
totally relate to that.
But it's just वो कि once you get past, एक बार जब DP का question time बाउंड कर लिया, उसके बाद लगता है अब तो हो ही जाएगा. It's just for one time. तो उतना comfortable हो जाओ तो उसके बाद सब हो जाता है.
Amazing. I'm just curious. So you gave an interview 1 year ago for Amazon India, right? but still, since you were in
I'm
their
from
database,
Luxembourg.
okay, so they have their different
In an interview
databases.
from America.
They have their
This
different
I am not
databases
very
for
sure.
Europe or something, or okay. So earlier also you gave the interview for the Amazon Luxembourg, right?
Right.
And in that you
Right.
got
That was
rejected,
when I
but
was
because of
applying
that
also.
you got the opportunity in the next year.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so this
So
would be a good tip
always
for
keep your
everyone.
shots.
Yeah, it would be a good tip
Uh-huh.
for everyone, just to keep applying for different countries and stuff like that. You never know.
Yeah.
Right.
Even if you are
Right.
rejected this time,
You
you
never
might get
know.
a
You
chance.
never
Yeah,
know.
great
This
example.
I've experienced firsthand, so I can definitely tell you never know when the opportunity comes. But all you can do is when it comes, you don't just stand there in fear or something.
Amazing. Also, you mentioned one more thing, that Amazon does not offer SDE2 directly. Is that really true? Or maybe for senior people it might give, or what is the criteria if somebody is looking for that?
So I think it's so for my current position, no matter how much I could have negotiated, they wouldn't have offered me an SD2. So the case is that I've only done job for 1 year. I don't have a promotion under my belt. So it's not that I am promoted here, which I can negotiate. Okay, I'm promoted, so you give me a position that's higher. It's not that they don't offer SD2 at all. It's just that they offer it after a certain level of experience, which is not like immediately after college or after 1 year, no matter what your competing compensation is. So it can be, so there are HFTs which offer you a lot of money. So even if their role is offering a similar amount of money for SD2, they would give you SD1 only. And they might give you the highest bracket of salary in that, but it's mostly about experience.
HFTs are high frequency trading companies.
Yeah, HFTs are high frequency trading companies. So
Amazing
Yeah.
stuff. Really, I mean, having a chance, especially in this COVID times, right? I realized since the things have become so global, that physically it's not global anymore, right? Even if people are getting
right,
opportunities abroad, they are still working from home. So a lot of these companies, they prefer like, hey, you can still work from wherever you are, whichever part you are from. So not a lot of people, especially even in IT, they don't get to travel a lot these days because everything is online. And you
right.
in this atmosphere, in this particular thing, you got opportunity to actually go visit abroad and work there. I think it's a great chance. So I'm just curious, how did you break this barrier, and why is it because they don't just offer, they want you to be there? You can't work on a hybrid model or on virtual model, or how is it? Like, how are you able to break this barrier that is there these days because of this COVID?
I think one most convenient thing for them would be like when I was applying for foreign companies last year, a lot of them wouldn't offer me a visa because it's expensive for them. So they take
Yeah,
the expense for my visa, they take the expense of my relocation. So it's still better to just get someone from a local uh, country and then
always.
give them an offer than to just take someone from India or some country, some different faraway country, and then
Yeah,
do that. So I think that used to be a very huge barrier for me. In this case, particularly, the opportunity came because the recruiter. So I wouldn't have applied if, say, I would have decided that I want to apply for different companies. I wouldn't have applied for this because I would have thought that they'll just take local people, like the case last year, or there would be a huge resistance
yeah.
for me to go there. So but because this offer came and I got on talk with them, so the thing is that one, they wanted engineers, which was which I think India has ample of.
Yeah.
And two, they wanted so they had this whole sequence of interview process and all, and if you perform above a certain bar, I think the expense of bringing an engineer from outside still overcomes the kind of work they can do for you.
Right.
So I think that is one of the cases. Otherwise, this remote work wala system doesn't work for some companies because of the tax issues, the legalities issues. So I'm learning it now only ki there are some things like if you work in this country, X country for some financial days, you are treated as a citizen of that country and then you have to file the tax returns and stuff like that. So that only that those are some complications that you can face in a big company, and I think bigger companies are more keen to offer you sponsorships to move to different countries than smaller ones, because startups would generally prefer ki, okay, you work from home but you can join us. So that would save them a lot of money, that would save them a lot of hassle, and that would also save you a lot of money if you're working in a remote job.
Yeah.
But
It's a win-win.
but for bigger companies there are tax implications, and so it's more convenient to just get them there. So I think that has started opening a bit now, so feel free to apply to
Yes.
whichever company that you want to.
Definitely, I mean that's a big thing. And you mentioned the importance of referral, right? You were able to get the referrals from a lot of the people on LinkedIn. So right now, if somebody approaches you for a referral, and if people are interested into that, so what would be your criteria of helping them? Would you refer anyone, or what is your criteria? What works for you? What do you think? Because a lot of people will be interested in Amazon, especially Amazon Luxembourg. So what do you think?
Ideally, I think I would prefer people I know a little bit more closely than just random people. But I have done this before. Like people do send me their CVs, and I do have a look. So if I feel ki okay, this is someone who really wants to, come or something, and I can just so applying for a referral is very convenient for me as a person
Yeah,
who's working in the company.
correct.
But applying for infinite referrals is not a convenience. So it's just you're just putting up everything, and they ask questions like, how well do you know this? How well do you recommend them? So if I would prefer to apply for referrals, I would still want to like have a like 5-10 minutes chat with that person, know the kind of background they have, know what they want to do, than just someone who's ki हाँ बस referral दे दो type.
Yeah.
But I've personally felt ki people who do come to me for referrals are pretty good people. Like they are like really motivated and ambitious people. So I generally do forward them for referrals. So that's the case. Having said that, बस spam मत करना कोई.
But that's really sweet. That's really
But
sweet of
मतलब
you.
I think it's not a. Matlab, I've been on the other end as well, so I know
Yeah.
how desperately you need that refer in the times when you don't have a job or when you want a better job. So I think if it's not harming you or anything, it's on the table.
That's
Thank you.
great.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And a lot of people will be interested, but again, only genuinely interested people should ping Riya. I'll just still put a link. I'll still put your LinkedIn link in the description so that
LinkedIn
people can
profile.
check it out,
That's okay.
and they can send you a connection request. And if you seem that you have something in common, Riya, then you can accept and maybe refer them into something. But just again, don't spam her.
Fun.
And yes, please, if anyone sends me a connection request, please send in a hi and a basic
Description about
intro or
yourself.
something. Yeah, that would help me, like just not randomly accept people's requests.
Yeah.
So,
Sure. I'll send you a request after this call. Please accept.
I'll accept. Yes, it's not often that you get interviewed by a LinkedIn influencer.
Oh my god. Okay. काफी ज्यादा चने के झाड़ पे
60-70K
चढ़ाया जा
is
रहा
a huge number. 60-70K is a huge number. Come on.
Yeah, it is.
So So yeah.
Thank you, and I think it's an honor for us to actually be talking to someone so accomplished, right? मतलब जो जो बोलो वो सब फोड़ा है, जेई बोला जेई फोड़ा है, IIT Delhi में you are and you have gone through so many. I mean, Adobe is one of the best companies. Amazon, it's not just Amazon India, right? You got an opportunity. You were able to break through that resistance and get into a foreign company, and especially in Amazon. I mean, those are great things, and Google also. I mean, whatever big companies we mentioned, right? You have done that. Before having a call with you, right, Arohi and me, we were
And
just
also,
discussing.
like,
We were just discussing कि यार क्या फोड़ू बंदी है ये, कहाँ से मिल गई ये? So it's an honor to have you.
and also that there's one more thing that people like see कि ठीक है now IIT as a life set है, but after talking to you, or if people are seeing this video, they'll understand that even after IIT you have to put an effort. It was not just your IIT brand that got you where you are. It was like so much of effort that you put from your side, which helped you to be where you are right now,
And I
right?
think
So
effort हमेशा रिवॉर्ड हो जाते हैं यार, मतलब
exactly.
हमेशा ही हो जाते हैं. तुम अभी नहीं करोगे तो अगले साल हो जाएंगे, अगले साल नहीं होंगे उसके अगले साल हो जाएंगे, बट टाइम इन्वेस्टमेंट हमेशा रिवॉर्ड हो जाता है.
Right.
Absolutely. मतलब यार, even after getting rejected, you got an offer later, maybe 1 year later. Some might get 2 or 3 years later, as you mentioned, but rewards, it will be rewarded. Whatever efforts we put in, whatever time we put in, it will be rewarded. It might not be exactly in the terms of getting an offer, but the experience and something that we go through, right? Oh, that's always rewarded. So
Definitely.
thanks a lot, Riya, for taking
Also,
out the.
if there's this one takeaway people can take from this video is that even if you're not getting anywhere right now, just keep applying, keep on giving interviews. It will prepare you for the future
That
interviews
is
at
very
least.
true. Very true.
Yeah.
Very well pointed out. I think I missed this, but once you start applying, it lets you get out of your initial resistance of being scared of interviews, not knowing what to do. Just apply, get rejected, and then wherever you'll get accepted, that will be a really good place to
Right.
be.
Thank you, Riya, for taking out the time and for all the guidance and tips that you have provided the viewers, and not just the viewers, even me and Arohi, we have learned a lot from you. And we will personally, like to have you again whenever we have, whenever you have a time, and we'll like to know about your experience about, how's the Amazon Luxembourg like, what are the pros, cons, everything, I will be so happy to actually connect with you again on that.
Sure. Once I start and once I get there, I'll let you know. Whenever I
Absolutely.
have the pros and cons list ready. I have no problem at all.
Thank
Yes,
you
and
so
I
much.
had a really great time. Like I didn't even realize it's 2 hours from 12:30. So
Yeah,
that's a
even we had one.